Hey guys, I hope you're having a wonderful day. So what I've got planned today is some more planting. I was planning on doing some more winter sowing. However, I think I want to actually focus more on indoor gardening. So I've taken the seeds out that I wanted to grow today, whether that's winter sowing or in containers for inside. And I know what I definitely have to do is get these germinating in the fridge for their cold stratification period. So if you don't know what that is, it's simply just giving your plants some time in the fridge or outside. I did winter sow some of these last time. I will link that video in the description below or up at the little eye in the corner, one of those two. But what these want, because I'm also going to be starting some of these inside, is I need to put them on a moist paper towel in a plastic bag in the fridge for 30 to 40 days before I plant them in soil. And now I probably am going to be planting probably all the seeds that I do have in this packet, because I have heard that lavender can be finicky to get started, and I have a lot of uses for lavender this next year, so I want to make sure that I have enough plants for it. And this packet comes with a ton of seeds, so I should at least get some plants out of this. Other than that, I was thinking of winter sowing the method that most people do in jugs, just like milk jugs and stuff like that, but I think instead I want to shift my focus onto some plants that I can get growing inside in my kitchen as a little kitchen garden. So I don't think I'm going to actually get to winter sowing today like I thought I was, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss that, because that will most likely be next week's video. But today we are going to work on a little kitchen garden. It'll be fun. So before I get started on planting any seeds, I'm going to get those lavender seeds in the fridge. So what I've got here is just a paper towel that's already pre-moistened. I just put it in the sink and wrung it out, so it's not dripping wet, but it is fully and evenly saturated. And then I have just a little plastic bag. Then I have another paper towel that once the seeds are on here, I will put this one on top and fold it up and then put it in this bag. I also have just a good old spray bottle that is filled with just plain water, and that is just to spray the seeds in before I put them in the bag. That way I know they're nice and saturated. So I am just putting the remaining seeds that are in this packet on here, just sprinkling them around, and it's a lot, it definitely is. And you can do this with as many or as little seeds as you want. But I know that people say that lavender can be hard to germinate. And so I want to have a lot of backups here, since I have specific plans for lavender this year, and I don't want to have to actually buy plants that somebody else grew on, who's much more economical with seeds. So I'm just coating these over, just giving them some room, and then I'm going to spray them down. And if you don't want to get your table wet, just make sure you put like a trash bag or something down before. Now that those are nice and wet, I'm just going to place this guy right on top. Make sure it makes good contact. And then I will just fold this over so it fits in my bag. Sneak them in there. Lay them flat. Make sure all the air is out. Zip them up. And then these are ready to go in the fridge. All right, so I have a permanent marker, and I'm just going to mark on the bottom here the date. So today is January 24th, 25th? I don't even know. So today is January 25th. I actually had to go look that up. I have no idea what the date is. And there we go. These are ready to put in the fridge for 30 to 40 days. I can then take them out and pot them up like you would any of your other seeds, just in soil, seed starting trays, and put them under grow lights. And you just want to check in every once in a while, make sure that these are staying moist. They should if you've sealed this good and there's no air getting in there, but just give them a check every week or however often you feel is necessary. So this is what I'm working with right now. I've got some small containers and then some medium-sized ones. So I've got 3 medium-sized terracotta pots and then 3 of these small ones. And since I have more than 6 varieties that I want to be growing today, I have more of these in the garage, but I am not going to bundle up to go get more of them right now. And I also have these containers here that I get from my grocery store when I buy things in bulk. You know, I'll get rice and lentils and stuff like this, and that way I am recycling and they're getting one more use out of them before they go in the recycle bin. I've got 10 containers here, so I guess I'll just pick 10 of the seeds that I have laid out around here, and that's what we'll plant. Here are the varieties that I'm going to be planting today. We've got Italian large leaf parsley, royal Burgundy bush beans, sage, sugar magnolia snap peas, calypso beans, painted pony beans, some red beard bunching onions, little gem butterhead lettuce, purple ruffles basil, and some spinach. Now, something that you want to keep in mind when you are planting things that you're going to keep inside for much longer than just seed starting is you have to think about their mature size and what they want. So I was going to plant these Fort Portal jade beans, but I looked again and I thought they were a bush variety, but they're not. They are a vining variety, so they do need a trellis. So I'm going to save these for the summer garden. However, all of these varieties that I will be growing are container friendly. They're bush varieties. They give their entire crop at once, whereas the vining varieties give, continuously throughout the whole growing season rather than having their whole crop be ready at one time. I'm also planting things like herbs. Herbs are a great thing to be planting in an indoor garden. As well as these bunching onions. I would not try to grow a full-size onion inside, but these are bunching onions, and they can be used as a cut and come again crop, whereas you can just eat the tops of the plants rather than pulling the whole thing out and just use them as a garnish. Let's talk about labeling your planters, whatever container you're putting your seeds in. Now these are just plastic containers that I'm recycling. I will just write right on here what I'm putting in here. However, when it comes to stuff like this, I will need a plant tag that I can stick in the pot. And since I don't have anything actually meant for that purpose, like any little plant tags or anything, what I do is I just write the name of the variety right on a normal piece of paper. In this case, I'm using a pink cardstock piece, which is totally fine. You can use anything. And then I cut them out and I laminate them with just some packing tape. And it seems to work well enough. So that's what I'm going to do now. So now I've finished making all of the tags for everything, and now I figured out what pot all of these things are going in. I'm putting a little gem butterhead lettuce in this one, and I just wrote directly on it. So now I just need to do that for the other 3 that are plastic, and then we can start getting soil in here and planting. I have a bowl, some water, and then my soil is off to the side here. I hope enough of it is not frozen that I can actually do this. And for this, I am just using a fine potting mix. This potting mix is pretty good quality. It's from Happy Frog. It doesn't have a bunch of like barky big chunks in it. And I do this just because seed starting mix never seems to work well for me, because seed starting mix is basically depleted of all fertilizers and nutrients. And so really the way that seed starting mix is meant to be used is immediately to be replaced and potted up the second that the plant puts on any kind of growth. So I just skip that step and plant my seeds directly in potting mix, which has a little bit of fertilizer in it. But I do still fertilize the plant as well. This just is like a little buffer on my end. So now I'm going to add water, just enough to get this moist, but not dripping wet. You don't want it to be dripping wet. And this is just a really good thing to do. That way you're not dislodging the seeds, which is easy to do if you have super dry, fluffy soil mix. It can just, put your seed way deeper than you want it to be. Oh man, between the cold water and the cold soil, my hand is freezing. I put a little bit too much water in here, so I'm just gonna add some more soil to balance it out. I am just gonna focus on getting all of these containers filled with soil, and then we'll plant them all at the same time. And I am packing this soil in the containers, but I'm not like packing it in hard. You still want it to be rather fluffy. And I'm just gonna put enough soil in here like you would be potting up any other house plant, leaving just a little lip for when you water so the water doesn't go everywhere. And something that I totally could have done and probably should have done with these is put a drain hole in here. That's okay. I'm very conservative with my watering with everything. I am not an overwaterer at all, but if you are, make sure that whatever you're planting in definitely has drain holes. So now that this is decently compacted, the soil doesn't have any weird air pockets in it to dislodge the seed. That's what we're looking for. Don't pack it in hard, just enough to get rid of any air pockets. Now I'm gonna do that with all of them. And if you were just starting these seeds at the appropriate time to then plant them outside, you totally would not need to put this much soil in. You would just need to put maybe even half of this in. But because these are going in, they're going to hopefully go through their entire life cycle inside in my kitchen window, or under my grow lights, I want to give them adequate soil for their roots to spread out and grow nicely. And since this part is pretty repetitive, let me just get all of these containers filled with soil, and then I'll meet back up with you. So now I have all of my containers filled, and I'm gonna start with these. I'm going to be planting the red-beard bunching onions, and they'd like to be planted at 1/4 inch deep. And for these, I'm not going to really worry about spacing. I'm just going to spread a ton on here, and then if need be, I can then take them apart. Onions take really well to that, planting very densely, and then ripping them apart to then plant the proper spacing because they have more wiry roots which don't get tangled together like other plants do. So you will not damage your onion's roots if you have to pull them apart from each other. So I have these little seeds in my hand and I'm just going to sprinkle them around the top, all over the place. Since they want to be planted 1/4 an inch deep, I'm just going to rough up the soil on the top of them and then pat it back down. And that'll be good for them. And the last thing I'm going to do is take a spray bottle with just plain water in it and give them a good spray so they're all settled in there. I'm going to be planting the little gem butterhead lettuce, this guy right here, and he also wants to be planted 1/4 of an inch deep. For this guy, I'm probably just gonna do a little indent here, here, and here, maybe 3 different locations in this one. And just sprinkle a couple of seeds in there, in that one, and there. And I'll just barely cover them up. And give these guys a good spray in as well. Next, let's plant the sugar magnolia snap peas. Now these are bigger seeds and they want to be planted at 1 inch. So I'm probably just going to plant 1 or 2 of these. I'm just going to poke a 1 inch deep hole right in the center here. Okay, roughly that deep. And I'm just gonna I'll take 2. 2 seeds will more guarantee that you're going to get a plant, but 1 seed would probably totally be fine too. Just cover back up, spray it in. And the last one that's going to go in these plastic containers are these Royal Burgundy beans. These want to be planted 1/2 an inch deep. And so we'll do the same thing we just did for the snap peas, just 1/2 an inch instead of 1 inch deep. I'll plant 2, poke a little hole, about 1/2 an inch deep, plop them in, and then cover them back up. So let's do sage next. Sage wants to be planted at 1/4 of an inch deep, so I'll just probably do 1 since this is a smaller planting reservoir. And yeah. 3 seeds is good. I'll put 3 seeds in that one little hole and then I'll thin them out once they start growing. And let's not forget our little tag we made. There we go. We got sage. And I'll just plop it right here up in the front. Next we'll do purple ruffles basil, which also wants to be planted 1/4 of an inch deep. So we'll do the same thing we did for the sage. I'll plant those 4 in just a tiny little hole, barely indenting it since they only want to be 1/4 of an inch deep. And just barely covering them up. Stick our little ID tag in and water them in. The next one, we're gonna plant these Calypso beans. I think that is just such a cool coloring on them. I have a pretty nice selection of beans this year. I thought it would be really cool if I could get the harvest all together this year to take a really beautiful picture of all of the different colors of beans that I'm growing this year and hang it on the wall. I think that'd be really cool. So these beans want to be planted 1/2 an inch deep. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. They look like little orcas. I'm just gonna plant 1 in there. I think 1 is good for that one. goes our tag. Now we're on to the little pots we have here. And we've got painted pony beans left, spinach, and parsley. Let's do the beans, which is also 1/2 inch deep. There we go, one can just pop out. Don't even have to open the whole thing. Isn't that fascinating? Spinach next, and spinach also 1/2 inch. And last but not least, we've got our Italian large leaf parsley, which wants to be planted 1/4 to 1/2 inch deep. Here's a look at everything we just did. There's 10 varieties, and now all that's left to do is place them on a windowsill or under grow lights, but they don't need lights until they start germinating. And so now I'll just make sure that all of those plants stay well watered until they germinate, because you don't want your seeds to dry out at all, or else they will not germinate anymore. So, you know, just watch your seedlings, and I'll pot them up as I need to, but I'm excited to have a kitchen garden growing. I'm not sure how all of these varieties are gonna do being inside, but it's a fun experiment. If you've made it this far in the video, drop a comment below and tell me if you've started any seeds yet or what you are excited to grow this year. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today on this snowy, cold January day. I am much looking forward to warmer days ahead, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.